What's happening, everyone? My name is Pardon My Presence, and you are listening to the Pardon My Presence YouTube channel, a channel where I address common issues from a unique point of view. It's also a place where I pardon a space for critical thought and analysis in today's society, where well-informed, logical assessments are slowly becoming taboo. What's going on? What's going on? What's happening? I want to get into this discussion about what I saw on the internet recently, and that is the video of Will Smith and Janet Hubert having a discussion. Now, people are asking, who the hell is Janet Hubert? Well, if you are a fan of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show, then you know Janet Hubert as the original Aunt Vivian, the dark-skinned Aunt Vivian. Okay, now, if you recall back in I think it's the 90s or the early 2000s, Aunt Viv was, the lead character in the show, one of the lead characters in the show, and there was a transition where she was replaced by the light-skinned Aunt Viv. And the interesting thing about the change in personnel is the fact that it was never discussed. It wasn't something that people were aware was going to happen, and there wasn't really any explanation as to why she was removed from the show. And there was a few jokes that were made on the show in regards to the fact that Aunt Viv suddenly changed from one person who was dark skinned to another person who was light skinned. So there's a few jokes that were made at her expense. Now, since the quote unquote transition, Aunt Viv, the original Aunt Viv, Janet Hubert, has went on to speak publicly against Will Smith and that particular production and how she feels she was slighted. And you could say that she's been a thorn in Will Smith's side as far as how she's always been salty in the way how she's explained her experience on the show. And she's always been a proponent of saying that Will Smith is not who he seems to be, and how things on that show was not how it was as far as this big, old, nice, gelled family. Now, to see these two together on the screen in the same place, having a conversation, it brought me to a place that I wanted to discuss. And that place is the place of conflict resolution. So what I saw were two adults who are spent, who are exhausted. Adults who have carried this burden for far too long. And have finally come together to sit down and have a honest, mature discussion about it. And what you realize when you listen to these two adults speak is the fact that they've held on to these grievances for far too long. And on one side is a grievance as far as being able to share her experience and explain how she felt and how she feels that she was wronged. And on the other side is an experience where one was dismissive of the other person's pain and felt the best course of action was to ignore that person and to slight that person and to put out different stories as far as that person being difficult and not understanding how your actions affects another human being and not taking responsibility of your own actions and how it affects someone else. Okay, so to see these two people come together and recognize, I guess, their role that they played in the conflict and how their roles that they played was hurtful to the other person, it was good to see them come together and to resolve this. And this is all about conflict resolution. And I think it was great to see this unfold on camera. And I think this was something that, Black people need to see in general, but everybody needs to see in general, especially in these times where you have, especially in the music industry and show business, where now conflict resolution, it doesn't even exist. People don't know what it is. People don't realize how to go about it, because nowadays people are getting shot, they're getting killed, wars are being started over this, over conflicts, and people are dying. And not only are just individuals dying, but generations are dying over this inability to resolve their issues. So I think it was important to let this unfold in public so that people could see this. And this is a great example of what people could follow as far as how to resolve issues. And the one thing you notice about the two is the fact of how this burden that they were carrying, how it affected them. And this goes to the whole conflict resolution when it comes to, the younger generation. How if you have an issue with somebody or a group of people, how you can't sleep. You have to, conduct yourself in a certain way because you don't know if you could be in danger if you walk into a certain venue or if you go to a certain side of town. You sleep with one eye open. You might have to feel you need to walk with security or, carry illegal weapons to protect yourself. There's so many different aspects of how conflict, takes over your life. And to see how you could resolve this, you kind of wish that this was something that people saw before King Von died, right? Before Mo 3 died, even before Tupac and Biggie died. You wish that they were able to see these moments where you could say, look, we could have a sit down, we could discuss things, we could put our issues aside, hear our grievances, and then recognize the hurt and the pain that we've caused and find a way to move past this where we could both coexist in this world, because this world is big enough for all of us. Okay, and we could coexist and not have to be the best of friends. We could just be cordial, right? We don't have to be bosom buddies, as they say. We could just be two human beings, two individuals that may not see eye to eye, but understand that both our experiences, both our views and our viewpoints are valid. And we could go on with our lives and not have to worry about looking over our shoulder and not have to worry about whether or not we could lose our lives based on this conflict. So I think it was important for people to see this, to see how you could bury a hatchet, to see how you could actually resolve matters. And you realize that in that interview with Janet Hubert and Will Smith, the amount of love that they actually have for each other, and the fact that because they weren't able to have a sit down and to discuss things one-on-one, how animosity was built, right? Just for the fact that they didn't take that time to hear each other out, okay? And that's part of conflict resolution. Hear each other out, hear the other side, listen to what they have to say, show some understanding and some empathy of what they've went through in regards to this conflict that they're dealing with. Look at how you've contributed to that pain and find a way to resolve matters so you could both move on without having to resort to any violence, without having to resort to any more, bad blood. And I hope that people look at this and this inspires people to do the same in their lives, whether it's the people in the show business in the hip hop community, or whether it's you in individual lives. Do you have family members that you have conflict with? Does this inspire you to call that family member and make amends? Because here's the thing, if Janet Hubert were to have died, or Will Smith were to have died, right? Because James Avery passed, we don't know the situation with James Avery, if they ever made amends, but to see two people make amends before someone passes away, where you can never make amends, for that to occur, and for them to realize that the time is now to see this through and to have a sit down. It was very mature of them. I commend them. I hope that many people see that video, watch that video, and they feel inspired to talk to someone who they might consider to be an ops, to talk to someone who they had love for and had a falling out with, and resolve their matters with that person. Again, you don't have to be best friends, but you want to be able to come to terms with that person so that you can sleep well at night. Because that's what this is all about. Conflict resolution. Learn about it, get some more information about it, find out how you can apply that into your life, and hopefully whoever you have beef with, you're able to come together with that person, have a sit down, air the grievances, and get past it together and find a way to coexist, because there's nothing better than to have a clear conscience. So that's my take on it. Big ups to Will Smith, big ups to Janet Hubert. You see the pain in their eyes, you see the pain in their voice. I'm glad they're able to get that out and move past it, because they clearly have love for each other. And to be honest, hate is really the cousin of love. So you can't hate someone that you don't love, Okay, so never forget that. Find a way to resolve matters. Any conflicts you have in your life, take that time to resolve it. Spend that energy in the right way, because that pain that eats you inside, that hatred, it can kill you. It will eat you up. And that's not what you want. Find a way to resolve your conflict in your lives. That's my message for today. Until next time, pardon my presence. Peace.